and my own research. And he's been talking about the Las Vegas attack being connected to the Saudi civil war, the Shiite-Sunni civil war, talking about how imminent attacks were coming up inside Saudi Arabia to respond to all this, talking about how the raid in Yemen was to get the files to show who in Saudi Arabia was actually working with the globalists. Owen Schroyer is going live in just a moment. I'm going to break all this down because Deep State, John McCain and others reportedly are using the different networks that they've got to basically carry out these operations. So that is all coming up, ladies and gentlemen, here in just a moment.
Let's look at the frame.
And you know what that means. There's going to be pushback, and they're not going to let America win easily. They're not going to let America go out of their fists, out of their clenched fists, without a fight. And now we got intel on what the deep state plans on doing, which includes launching more terror attacks across the world as we continue to spiral towards nationalism. I'm now joined by Alex Jones, who is breaking this intel now. Alex, this is a serious, significant event that we have the deep state planning now.
That's right. Zach's been calling for a few years, and he's talked about how he's now gotten out of active duty in the Special Forces Command in Florida, and now works as a contractor. And he's called in the last few years, always with spot-on information. But I don't just go off the caller's information. I have my other sources. I've done my own research. I understand the different parties that are involved. And we know that there are criminal elements in Saudi Arabia that have been working with the deep state, with Obama, with John McCain and others, to launch the Arab Spring. We know that Trump has properly said that Hillary and Obama co-founded ISIS together. So if you look at that information, if you look at what's unfolding there, they have been really upset at Trump, and they want to embarrass Trump. And so they have been gearing up, trying to fund terror attacks inside the U.S., and you've got Iran working with some of the insiders and some of the Wahhabists now against the U.S. and against the Saudi king. And we saw this ICBM Saturday fired out of Yemen. Again, I'm going to go ahead and show them here. We've got the ICBM fired out of Yemen going into Saudi Arabia. We've got the big roundups there. And so the big news from our caller, our source has proven very, very accurate, but we can also see the intel for ourselves, is that this civil war is spilling over here in the United States, out of the Middle East, this Shiite-Sunni civil war that's going on. So again, I'm going to be breaking more of this down with you here today. Zach was going to be able to come on the show. They called him and said he couldn't come on again. So we're going to air the call coming up at the bottom of the hour. So we're getting that clip of when he was on at the end of the show today, because it fits into all the other things we've seen with the leftist uprisings, Antifa. That's all deep state run, and the deep state that helped fund ISIS and helped Google and others basically support it. They are now planning terror attacks here in the United States. So again, we're going to be breaking all that down, the Arab Civil War spilling over into the United States and more. All the intel of John McCain being a traitor, working with him, that's all coming out. And now that the leadership of this has been decapitated in Saudi Arabia, now that the head's been cut off with all these arrests, we're looking at these badly coordinated networks that are basically sheep-dipped by Obama and the CIA, that are now rogue groups basically operating on their own now that the head's been chopped off. And our intel sources, not just Zach, are saying, look for major Yemenis terror attacks this week, which will then be blamed on cutout patsies, and then they'll call for gun control. So it's more sophisticated than a regular Islamic attack like we saw last week in New York. It's also part of all this. It's part of staging attacks, then framing the right wing for it, and using that as a way to then destabilize the country and try to drive Trump from office. Again, I'm going to shoot another live report on this. We also have Congress having hearings with Twitter, Facebook, and Google admitting that they're censoring us and calling for more censorship because we are aware of what's happening, and we're putting the critical intel out. Back to you, Owen Schroyer. More at the bottom of the hour.
And this is all being reported here first, folks.
Okay.